Hello there. This is Heirs to the Kingdom channel. And today's lesson we're doing Jeremiah chapter 51. This is quite of a long read. And there's a couple of good little spots in here that may pertain to us today here in the modern world from when this was written. If you are new to this is a Bible study channel where I go through the King James Bible. I don't skip anything as God commands. I explain what's, parts pertain to us today, what the Bible means in its different areas. And, showing how also what we have today in this world that's leading a lot of people away from God instead of to God. It's very easy to do. Satan has spent thousands upon thousands of years perfecting his craft of deception. And he'll use everything that it sounds good, it sounds like it might be godly, but at its core it's not. Now, this chapter is still a connection to chapter 50, where it's talking about God is telling, through Jeremiah, telling Babylon what's going to happen to them. Or saying what is going to happen to Babylon, not really saying directly to them. And so that's what this is a continuance of that. So let's go ahead and get started here. As I said, there's about the largest chapter so far in this. This is the second to last. There's only 52 verses. 52 chapters in Jeremiah, and this is chapter 51. So we're almost done with Jeremiah. And then after this, I think, is Lamentations. But like I said, there's a lot to read here. A lot of it straightforward, a couple of areas to stop at and talk about some things. And so let's go ahead and get started here. I'm trying to keep these lessons around the 30-minute mark or less. So chapter 51, verse 1. Thus saith the Lord, Behold, I will raise up against Babylon, and against them that dwell in the midst of them that rise up against me, a destroying wind. And I will send unto Babylon fanners, that shall fan her, and shall empty her land, for in the day of trouble they shall be against her round about. So this part talking about fanners, it's what they would do if they were separating wheat and chaff. They'd have someone sitting there with a fan, and what that would do was, like, the wheat that they would want to keep would fall down because the people fanning wouldn't blow enough wind to remove the good part. Just it'll blow away the waste, the useless part. And so that's what God's talking here. He's going to use fanners that's going to empty their town. Get rid of the useless people. It's going to blow them away. Is what they're speaking of here. And so it's talking about foreigners coming into the area that's pretty much going to just be used as a destroying wind that's going to get rid of the useless people. Well, the ones that God deems useless. Anyways, continue on verse 3. Against him that bendeth, let the archer bend his bow, and against him that lifteth himself up in his brigandine. Now remember, brigandine is a type of armor. Sorry if I repeated a section there. I had a little pet issue going on here. Let's continue on, though. And spare ye not her young men, destroy ye utterly all her host. Thus the slain shall fall in the land of the Chaldeans, and they that are thrust through in her streets. For Israel hath not been forsaken, nor Judah of his God. Of the Lord of hosts, through their land was filled with sin against the Holy One of Israel. Flee out of the midst of Babylon, and deliver every man his soul. Be not cut off in her iniquity, for this is the time of the Lord's vengeance. He will render unto her a recompense. Babylon hath been a golden cup in the Lord's hand, that made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunken of her wine, therefore the nations are mad. Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. Howl for her, take balm for her pain, if so she may be healed. Now, in a way, America's kind of been this for a lot of the world, been that golden cup. America used to follow the Lord very strictly. And so America did a lot of good all around the world, and everyone got used to that. And now America got too big for its britches, thinking that it was the one doing all the good, when in fact it was the godly people that were doing good at the instructions of the Lord to help, other parts of the world. And so now America is falling, and other nations have been picking on America, calling it bad now, instead of saying thank you for helping us. Now it's like, oh, you're useless. And that just shows you the loyalty of people that you help sometimes, that, if they were godly to begin with, they would have better morals. But most of us know that when you deal with ungodly people, if you let them talk or act long enough, they'll show you who they truly are. Continue on, verse 9. We would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. Forsake her, and let us go every one into his own country. For her judgment reacheth unto heaven, and is lifted up even to the skies. The Lord hath brought forth our righteousness. Come, and let us declare in Zion the work of the Lord our God. Make bright the arrows, gather the shields. The Lord hath raised up the spirit of the kings of the Medes. For his device is against Babylon to destroy it, because it is the vengeance of the Lord, the vengeance of his temple. So even though God used Babylon to punish Israel, the Babylonians didn't have to destroy God's temple, but they did it. God said this would happen, but God was not telling them to do this very thing. And so Babylon did a lot of wickedness to become a world power, and did a lot of bad to the land of Israel as it came and took over, which they did not have to do, but they did anyways at the instructions of the king. So now that kingdom must be punished, for the wickedness that they did. Let's continue on here. Verse 12. Set up the standard upon the walls of Babylon. Make the watch strong. Set up the watchmen. Prepare the ambushes. For the Lord hath both devised and done that which he spake against the inhabitants of Babylon. O thou that dwellest upon many waters, abundant in treasures, thine end is come, and the measure of thy covetousness. The Lord of hosts hath sworn by himself, saying, Surely I will fill thee with men, as with caterpillars, and they shall lift up a shout against thee. Now, if you've never really known about caterpillars, have you ever seen their little web areas and stuff like that? They have a lot of them in there. That's what it means. It's like, I'll fill you with men, as it's a caterpillar's nest are filled, just completely, almost filled to the brim. But let's continue on here, verse 15. He hath made the earth by his power. He hath established the world by his wisdom, and hath stretched out the heaven by his understanding. When he uttereth his voice, there is a multitude of waters in the heavens, and he causeth the vapors to ascend from the ends of the earth. He maketh lightnings with rain, and bringeth forth the wind out of his treasures. Every man is brutish by his knowledge. Every founder is confounded by the graven image. For his molten image is falsehood, and there is no breath in them. They are vanity, the work of errors. In the time of their visitation they shall perish. The portion of Jacob is not like them, for he is the former of all things, and Israel is the rod of his inheritance. The Lord of hosts is his name. Thou art my battle axe and weapons of war. For with thee I will break in pieces the nations, and with thee will I destroy kingdoms. And with thee will I break in pieces the horse and his rider. And with thee will I break in pieces the chariot and his rider. With thee also I will break in pieces man and woman, and with thee will I break in pieces old and young. And with thee will I break in pieces the young man and the maid. I will also break in pieces with thee the shepherd and his flock, and with thee will I break in pieces the husbandman and his yoke of oxen. And with thee will I break in pieces captains and rulers. Now, if you look at America's history and how America has become a mighty nation with military, it is known to have one of the most formidable militaries, in the modern era. So, in a sense, America has kind of always been this way, and we're getting not as powerful as we used to be. But God is merciful and waiting and hoping for America to turn back to God, because the one thing God gives his nations is the ability to defend themselves. And even in today's time, just like back then, if you were a nation that could not be, taken over, then you were blessed by God for that. Now, of course, in Old Testament times, it was quite a bit different, but it was also far more brutal. That places would go in and they wouldn't just, defeat an army and then go into negotiations. They literally would destroy everything. Take slaves, rape, pillage, burn, all this stuff. So you needed to be very powerful for other nations to not even want to mess with you. And so with sin in the world, it has always been this way. America has been very spoiled because America really has never been invaded, by foreign nations, not in the modern time, not as a country. And a lot of that has to do with the knowledge of God's people of build a great military and be more powerful than the rest. It's called that MAD, mutually assured destruction. And so we've kind of lived by that. But also America's becoming quite a bit weaker over the years because we become less and less godly. We're hoping things will change, but don't really know. Let's continue on here. Back to the lesson and verse 24. And I will render unto Babylon and to call the inhabitants of Chaldea all their evil that they have done in Zion in your sight, saith the Lord. Behold, I am against thee, O destroying mountain, saith the Lord, which destroyest all the earth, and I will stretch out mine hand upon thee, and roll thee down from the rocks, and will make thee a burnt mountain. And they shall not take of thee a stone for a corner, nor a stone for foundations, but thou shalt be desolate forever, saith the Lord. Set ye up a standard in the land, blow the trumpet among the nations, prepare the nations against her, call together against her the kingdoms of Ararat, Minai, and Ashchenaz. Appoint a captain against her, cause the horses to come up as the rough caterpillars. Prepare against her the nations with the kings of the Medes, the captains thereof, and all the rulers thereof, and all the land of his dominion. And the land shall tremble in sorrow, for every purpose of the Lord shall be performed against Babylon, to make the land of Babylon a desolation without an inhabitant. The mighty men of Babylon have forborne to fight. They have remained in their holds. Their might hath failed. They became as women. Sound familiar with America's army turning woke, becoming weak like women? You know, something easily defeated, especially on the battlefield. Like I said, America is maybe turning things around, but we still got a lot to do. Because it's not just, fixing our military. We got to fix our society. We got to fix our families. And the only way we can do that is for men to do their roles, women to do their roles. And then with that falling in place, society then will start doing their roles again. But we have to do it God's way and following him than doing it our own way, following Satan. Let's continue on here, though. They have burned her dwelling places. Her bars are broken. One post shall run to meet another, and one messenger to meet another, to show the king of Babylon that his city is taken at one end, and that the passages are stopped, and the reeds they have burned with fire, and the men of war are affrighted. For thus saith the Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, the daughter of Babylon is like a threshing floor. It is time to thresh her, yet a little while, and the time of her harvest shall come. Now, of course, it's the threshing floor is that place you'd beat the wheat at, and if it was on the inside and there'd be fanners there, that's what I was talking about before, they would thresh the wheat and use the people with fans to blow the chaff away. That way they only keep the wheat that they would make into bread. And so, let's continue on, though. Still got 20 more verses starting here, because it's 34 to 64 still. Nebuchadrezzar, the king of Babylon, hath devoured me. He hath crushed me. He hath made me an empty vessel. He hath swallowed me up like a dragon. He hath filled his belly with his delicates. He hath cast me out. The violence done to me and to my flesh be upon Babylon, shall the inhabitant of Zion say. So this is what he's talking about. Zion is saying this thing. This is the other thing that the Babylons did. They started destroying the mountain of Zion. That's God's mountain. He didn't like that. He said it was going to happen, but it does not mean that he approved that it was going to happen. Let's continue on, though. And my blood upon the inhabitants of Chaldea shall Jerusalem say. Therefore thus saith the Lord, Behold, I will plead my cause and take vengeance for thee. And I will dry up her sea and make her springs dry. And Babylon shall become heaps, a dwelling place for dragons, an astonishment and an hissing without an inhabitant. They shall roar together like lions. They shall yell as lions' whelps. In their heat I will make their feasts, and I will make them drunken, that they may rejoice and sleep a perpetual sleep and not wake, saith the Lord. I will bring them down like lambs to the slaughter, like rams with he-goats. How is Shishak taken? And how is the praise of the whole earth surprised? How is Babylon become an astonishment among the nations? The sea is come up upon Babylon. She is covered with the multitude of the waves thereof. Her cities are a desolation, a dry land, and a wilderness, a land wherein no man dwelleth, neither doth any son of man pass thereby. And I will punish Baal in Babylon, and I will bring forth out of his mouth that which he hath swallowed up, and the nations shall not flow together any more unto him. Yea, the wall of Babylon shall fall. My people, go ye out of the midst of her, and deliver ye every man his soul from the fierce anger of the Lord. And lest your heart faint, and ye fear for the rumor that shall be heard in the land. A rumor shall both come 1 year, and after that in another year shall come a rumor, and violence in the land, ruler against ruler. Therefore, behold, the days come that I will do judgment upon the graven images of Babylon, and her whole land shall be confounded, and all her slain shall fall in the midst of her. Then the heaven and the earth and all that is therein shall sing for Babylon, for the spoilers shall come unto her from the north, saith the Lord. As Babylon hath caused the slain of Israel to fall, so at Babylon shall fall the slain of all the earth. Ye that have escaped the sword, go away, stand not still. Remember the Lord afar off, and let Jerusalem come into your mind. We are confounded because we have heard reproach. Shame hath covered our faces, for strangers are come into the sanctuaries of the Lord's house. Wherefore, behold, the days come, saith the Lord, that I will do judgment upon her graven images. And through all her land the wounded shall groan. Though Babylon should mount up to heaven, and though she should fortify the height of her strength, yet from me shall spoilers come unto her, saith the Lord. A sound of a cry cometh from Babylon, and great destruction from the land of the Chaldeans. Because the Lord hath spoiled Babylon, and destroyed out of her the great voice, when her waves do roar like great waters, a noise of their voice is uttered. Because the spoiler is come upon her, even upon Babylon, and her mighty men are taken, every one of their bows is broken. For the Lord God of recompense shall surely requite. And I will make drunk her princes, and her wise men, her captains, and her rulers, and her mighty men, and they shall sleep a perpetual sleep, and not awake, saith the King, whose name is the Lord of hosts. When I read this, I keep thinking about, I will make drunk her princes and her wise men, her captains, and this, that, and the other. And I keep thinking about how dumb the U.S. government has gotten lately in the past about all this woke culture and trying to, I don't know what they're trying to do, but it's like they're trying to have a military of nothing but, I don't know what to call them. I can't call them soldiers. I mean, they will wear a uniform of some sort, but mentally, they're not even children. They're less than children mentally. A lot of them, not all, but a lot. And it's like, but our government has pushed this. And it isn't just the American government. All the governments are getting this way. They're acting like they're high on something, drunk on something, this, that, and the other, and they're making the dumbest decision I've ever heard of in my life. And it's like they're making enemies of their own citizens. And I'm like, are you going to be surprised one day when your citizens revolt and just go completely postal on all these governments? Because if they don't change their ways, that will happen. That's a guaranteed fact. It's always happened in the past, and it will happen again. Because the people will learn that, hey, we outnumber them thousands to one. We will easily win this, and they always do. But let's continue on here. Verse 58. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, the broad walls of Babylon shall be utterly broken, and her high gates shall be burned with fire, and the people shall labor in vain, and the folk of the fire, and they shall be weary. The word which Jeremiah the prophet commanded Sariah, the son of Neriah, the son of can't remember how to say this one. Maaseiah, there we go, Maaseiah, when he went with Zedekiah, the king of Judah, into Babylon in the 4th year of his reign. And this Seraiah was a quiet prince. Now, these names are important for the Israelites because it shows the lineage. And so they can always go back, says, yep, this person existed, and this is where this person was. And here they are speaking about Jeremiah and stuff like that. So all this stuff is very important for their lineage and understanding that, this is not make-believe. And this is why the Bible is full of books that can be, more proven factual that this has happened and these people exist. And so some people say, well, they found this book and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, yeah, but, is there anything else to reinforce that? That's why it's not going to be in the Bible. And a lot of times it's always something that seems more like a story more than scripture. But anyways, it always is. I know it messes with a lot of people today like it does me. That's like, okay, we'll get this name after this name after this name after this name. But all these people were coming after this king Zedekiah. So that's what this is talking about here. Because it said the word of this was given to this prince to keep. So let's continue on here to finish the reading of chapter 51. So Jeremiah wrote in a book all the evil that should come upon Babylon, even all these words that are written against Babylon. And Jeremiah said to Seraiah, when thou comest to Babylon, and shalt see and shalt read all these words, then shalt thou say, O Lord, thou hast spoken against this place, to cut it off, that none shall remain in it, neither man nor beast, but that it shall be a desolate forever. Shall be desolate forever. I put an A in there somewhere. I'm sitting there like, in my head, my brain just said, stop, something ain't right. That wording wasn't right. Last two verses. And it shall be when thou hast made an end of reading this book that thou shalt bind a stone to it and cast it into the midst of Euphrates. And thou shalt say, thus shall Babylon sink, and shall not rise from the evil that I will bring upon her, and they shall be weary. Thus far are the words of Jeremiah. Now, of course, more copies of this was written by the scribe that Jeremiah had. It's just this one that was delivered to this prince. He's to put a stone to it and cast it into the Euphrates River. And so that's, saying that as this book sinks into the Euphrates River to the bottom, Babylon itself will sink. So, but yeah, that's the end of this lesson. And I am right here at the 30-minute mark. Like I said, it's going to take a little bit to read, and there's a couple of things to stop and talk about. So I'm going to go ahead and end this lesson here because my dyslexia is kicking in anyways. And yeah, I don't know what it is. The more I speak and stuff, it's like my brain just starts messing up on me. Then the dyslexia will start coming in and I can't say anything straight. I do good with short lessons and stuff like that. When I start getting longer and longer, yeah. Well, that's one of my problems to deal with, not yours. But like I said, that's why we pray for each other. Pray for me that, I'm able to keep doing this and have less problems doing this. And I have gotten a lot better. So I know some of you have prayed about that because I've asked for it in the past. And thank you for that. Thank God for prayers being answered, because I have gotten a whole lot better at reading. If you go back to Genesis 1 and go from there and listen to the way I went back to and listened to it, I'm like, oh my gosh, I sound like, Ben Stein and Ferris Bueller's movie, just da, 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 da. So I've gotten a lot better. I know I have. I still got a lot more improvement to get to, but continue to pray for me. I'll pray for you. Pray for yourself. I'll pray for myself. We got to pray for the lost, pray for the found, pray for kingdoms, pray for nations, pray for governments to get their heads out their butts and whatever the heck's going on with them. This desire for, I don't know what it is. In America, it makes no sense because if they want money, they can just print it. That's what they've been doing anyways. But then they think that they got to send the money and let it get laundered in Ukraine and get sent back to them in donations and stuff. So I don't, it's like this greed of money, and I guess they think they have power. They don't have any power. They think they do because they're so used to them saying something and people listen, but it's getting less because people have realized the lies that the U.S. government has been saying. And then when those lies are being found out as they work with other countries' governments, finding out that those countries' governments have been lying to their people as well, it's like, I said, it's a whole, I don't want to use the words here. I am ex-military, so bad words and not so nice words do slip out of my mouth from time to time. And, but yeah, it's a whole can of something going to be opened up if things don't change for the better soon. And it's like, because I know I've seen videos of other people that are in Europe. I was stationed in Europe, so I've seen videos of them. It's like, they're getting sick and tired of their governments. America has been getting sick and tired of its. Canada's like, they're on the verge, like, oh, we're fixing to go a little postal here. It's like, wait a minute. Like it's almost like, hey, you're taking away our maple syrup. Wait a minute, you're taking away our bread and butter. And it's like their government's causing this. And the more they realize it, the more they're like, we got to do something before, it affects us in such a negative way that there's not going to be a recovery from this. Like I said, this stuff has happened in the past and it will happen again. But we got to pray that people get their heads on straight and get things corrected before that happens, because no one really wants that to happen. If you've never trained for combat or seen war zones, this, that, and the other, you have no clue except what you've seen in movies. There's no glory in it. There's none of that. The movies make it look a certain way, but in real life, you don't want it. We don't want it. No one does. And so that's why we always want to try to do it as peaceful as possible, even though our worldly side wants to just really go in there and just take care of things permanently with some of these crooked people. Trust me, I get those thoughts too, especially one that's trained for this stuff. And it's like, we got to fix it one way or the other. It's going to happen, but remember to pray. We got to pray about that a lot. So, until next time, God bless, good night, and goodbye.